Hello and welcome to the RT Development Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rossignol, and I'm really excited for today's guest. Today's guest is one of RT's family's longtime athlete. He's Kaleb Wing. Kaleb Wing's been with the RT family since he was 11 years old and has been putting in work for the last 7 years. He's from Scotch Valley, California, where he was at Scotch Valley High School and was named SCCAL Pitcher of the Year. Originally a shortstop, Kaleb made the transition to the mound and hasn't looked back. That move paid off in a big way when he was selected by the Chicago Cubs in the 4th round of the 2025 MLB draft. He was previously committed to Loyola Marymount University, and baseball runs in his blood. His dad, Ryan, was also drafted and pitched professionally. We're really excited to have Kaleb on the show today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I would say our journey together's been long and also at the same time just kind of getting started, and there's a lot more exciting stuff on the way, but really happy for you, where you're at, and just the growth over the last year.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, I would say pretty close to, if not spent more time with you over the last year than anyone else in my life. The amount of time you spent here in the facility, on the phone, all that stuff. Yeah, I don't think anyone. You're probably pushing up there as much time with you as I did with my kids and my family.
It's like a second home. Practically live here. Most of my days are spent here. So
Yeah, well, it was. I guess it worked out.
yeah,
It paid off.
guess
But
so.
yeah. So you've been with us since you were 11. And seeing you grow, I remember your actual first training session was with Jared and Joe Gillette. I think there might have one other pro guy, but I think I have videos of you. You were 11 years old, little guy, and then had Jared, Joe Gillette, both pro guys in there, and you just kind of just went in there, did your own thing, and just kind of handled it. I don't know if you remember those days or
I
that
remember
day.
it. I remember it vaguely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, with that, let's just give me a little bit about your early days and like kind of what you remember going through RT.
Yeah, I mean, moved up to Northern California from Southern California, and started to kind of take baseball serious at a young age, and needed a place that I could grow both physically and mentally too. And I mean, Rossy's training just gave me the outlet to really grow. Getting to work out with a lot of older guys for so many years, even up until now, like getting to work out with older pro guys and pick their brains, as well as the knowledge that all the coaches have here. It's been great for me. It's been a long journey, and there's still a long way to go to get to where I want to be. But really, just at an early age, remember working out with all the pro guys and kind of looking up to them and wanting to be like them, playing professional baseball. It was honestly really cool, like getting to see the kind of the behind the scenes work that you don't really see, like on TV. You just watch them on TV, but you don't really see the work that they put on behind the scenes. And so that kind of motivated me all throughout my journey.
Sure. I mean, I think something that you did really well is you've always prioritized or been really big on the development side. I think you didn't get carried away with all the travel ball and going and playing all the showcases. You made sure that you prioritized development and just kind of took it one step at a time. I think obviously your dad had a big piece in that, and his background definitely helped you. But can you just talk about like, I'm sure there's the want to go to every showcase and do all that stuff, but how you were able to still make sure that development was first and not kind of skip steps.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I was always undersized. And the only way that I was going to be able to compete with guys that were the same age but more mature and physically and mentally was to develop. And I could have gone to all those showcases and would have had nothing to showcase. And so, like, from an early age, there was always an understanding that I had to get bigger, faster, and stronger to be able to compete with those guys. And I went to some bigger showcases later on in my senior year of high school, but all throughout my first 3 years of high school and even middle school, like didn't go to a single showcase, just really prioritized staying in the gym, making sure that I was developing on the strength side as well as the baseball side, which I think was a big piece. Um, and like my dad would always talk to me about, um, like the only way that I was going to be able to compete when I'm older is if I take this stuff serious in the weight room, and the individual work serious up until then.
Sure. I mean, I think that time you spent developing and the work you put in really set the foundation. You built the foundation for when you did finally hit those growth spurts,
Yeah.
and then you were able to kind of hit the ground running versus trying to play catch up. Like you did all the stuff early on, and I think that's something that really is important for people to understand. Like everyone's going to have their growth spurt at different times. Everyone's going to grow into their body at different times. But if you continually put in the work, do the right things, take the right steps at the right time, when you finally do grow into your body, you're going to be so much more ahead versus kind of going the opposite direction or doing it the opposite way. And then now you're really behind and trying to catch up. So
Yeah, it's a lot easier to play catch up early on than have to start to play catch up late.
sure. And I think for you, this thing that I think really kind of kept you to keep moving forward is and your competitiveness. You're always wanting to compete, always want to be the best at everything, and just really having that competitive fire. Can you just talk a little bit about that and where that comes from? I know all the battles you've had with, Brock and a lot of the guys in here, and yeah, can you just go into a little bit about that competitiveness?
Yeah, I mean, there's always just a want to compete. It doesn't really matter what we're doing, if we're playing a baseball game or we're playing a ping pong game at 11 o'clock at night. Like there's always like a want to win, and I think that translated a lot when playing, but a lot in the weight room too. Like, a lot of my buddies like pushing each other to put up more weight, pushing each other to kind of beat the other person, whether it's sprint speed or squat, like stuff like that. I think that is what really pushed me, especially with the pro guys too, like watching them lift and lifting with them. There was always a want to be able to lift more than them. And so I would always take it kind of like a game against them. They didn't know they were playing it of just trying to put up more weight than them. And I think that's the competitive nature in me is what has taken me to where I am now.
Sure. No, I would definitely agree. I think that is one of your strongest suits and is what's going to help you continue to grow and take these next steps in the game, is that fire that's always within you. I mean, and this is kind of getting a little bit ahead of what we're talking about, but just even like when you started to get some recognition, started to get a chance, going and compete against the guys that were at the top of all the draft boards and stuff like that, whether it be area codes or scout ball, but also the baseball generations you did. And I remember just like, yeah, just how fired up you were to compete against those guys and show them that you belonged in that same class, I guess. So I definitely think that is one of your strong suits and what's going to help you continue to grow in this game, is that ability to always have that fire inside you. And, definitely something that a lot of these guys could learn something from. So, and that's something I would say from any of our pro guys, and especially like the big leaguers, is that fire inside them and is very, very strong, and what definitely keeps them going. And that, so it's definitely a good trait to have for you.
Yeah.
I think kind of obviously your transition or you becoming a pitcher is pretty unique, right? You didn't pitch growing up and really didn't start pitching till kind of the end of your junior year, kind of like, oh, he's got a good arm, let's give this a try. Won a scout made you try out at area codes as both a pitcher and an infielder? And can you just go into that, what that transition's been like going from a shortstop to a pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to that first day when I kind of picked up the ball at the area code tryout, there wasn't necessarily a goal in mind. It was just find a way to kind of have fun on the mound. It's new, it's exciting. Just find ways to make good pitches and compete. And I think from that day on, I kind of found the love for the mound. Just the feeling when you're on the mound and your only job is to get the hitter out. That's where I kind of fell in love with it. And I think there's a lot of good aspects from being a hitter first, learning how to attack hitters, and the competitiveness of being in the box like really translates to the mound. And I think the athleticism that I had to have to play middle infield only translated really well to the mound. And I think there's a lot of times where you struggle. I mean, it's new, especially learning it so late. Having to find ways to compete. You don't really know what you're doing up there as well, so you have to find ways to get guys out, especially when competing at some of those events. A lot of those hitters have been at the top of those rankings for 12 years or whatever, since they were 5 years old. And so having to find ways to get those guys out and make them make mistakes has been that's what kind of excited me, like forcing those guys to make the mistake and finding ways to compete.
Absolutely. And I think if we're going or just to give a little more info on that, like I know I'm talking to some scouts after your area code outing, your first one specifically, like you weren't the hardest throwing guy out there. I mean, and weren't even close to where you are now. Like 88, 89, I think touched 90. But I remember specifically them saying like the show of the athleticism up on the mound made them really excited. But more importantly, that like give me the ball and let's go mentality really opened a lot of their eyes and like made them showed them that like, okay, we got to watch this guy and see how it goes. And this is kind of getting a little bit farther. But then came scout ball and they're like, oh man, he took another jump. Like, all right, now he's definitely going to be one of the guys on our list to follow. And it all started with like that, me versus you attitude that you took up there. And yeah, you might not, especially at that time, you might not have been the hardest thrower there, but you didn't care. You showed that athleticism as a positive trait, which is something that I think anyone who is a pitcher can take from. Is like, and I think it's why pitching is starting to excel more, or like guys are more athletic. They're prioritizing athleticism and not just being quote unquote pitchers anymore. And I think that's definitely something that's help you pick it up as fast as you have because of that athleticism. So one, for you, never lose that athleticism. That should be a main focus. And two, for anyone listening, you might be for lack of a better term, a PO, but that doesn't mean you should lose that athleticism. So definitely something that you should be a priority.
Yeah.
Let's go kind of back a little bit. So yeah, last June you try out, you make the area code team. So then kind of, I know for us, we kind of went into like scramble mode and was like, all right, what are we gonna do to make sure you can go out there and pitch and show well? And let's just kind of go a little less like mindset, more of like your process leading up to area codes, and then we'll kind of go over from there.
Okay. Yeah, so found out that I'd made the area code team, and we started to scramble a little bit, trying to figure out like best plan of attack for the area code games. And I think the first thing that we really focused on was getting comfortable on the mound, like just touching the slope as much as we could. And I think that was important because it's different from throwing across the diamond. Like you have to learn, you got a little bit more time. And finding a somewhat consistent delivery was probably at the top of that list, as well as creating a pitch, because I really only had a fastball and a mediocre breaking ball, and just finding ways to throw it in zone and collect guys swinging out in front. And I think that was our biggest focus from the day that I made the area code team to the time that I competed in it, was touching the slope, getting more comfortable on the mound, finding a consistent delivery, and having a couple pitches for a strike.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I remember, yeah, I mean, just like you said, get you comfortable, put you in a position so that you just, you felt like you knew what you were doing up there, and kind of just so you didn't felt like you were gonna be in a good spot to be able to go out there and compete. I know I remember we would do drills like give you like a backhand on the mound to kind of go take that into a leg lift and throw, and just kind of try to blend as much as we could between all your time playing shortstop into pitching. And so then after that, you area codes, then you got invited to scout ball. Then we kind of went a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And then kind of like fast forward a little bit, I think this is where the real like transition and next step took, because you went scout ball, you did well, but we knew there was still more on the table. Now there's no more games to play. After your baseball generations showcase, we shut you down, and like kind of I went to the drawing board and like, okay, what do you need? What's going to help you take that next step? And so just kind of a little bit about that, and then I have another specific question on some of the pitches, but go.
Yeah, so I think after baseball generations, like that shutdown period, the biggest thing was to get stronger. I think it was put on weight, it was put on strength, and did that for a couple months, but while I wasn't throwing. And as I started to ramp up, it was the same thing, like staying athletic on the mound, finding more consistency in the pitch shapes and the command. And I think those were our biggest focus. But the biggest thing was getting stronger. And that's what we really hammered the most of that shutdown period.
Definitely, yeah. Getting your strength up, improving like your ability to display that strength. And how was that like as we got closer to the end of the year, like January, and starting to really get ready for the season? We started really focusing on, okay, you were getting stronger, and now can we be able to produce power with that strength and get you to be able to show it on the mound. So the other thing that really started to develop was your changeup, and your changeup's definitely one of your best pitches. It's definitely what got noticed. And so just talk about how you came up with the changeup. How did it develop?
Yeah, so there was a bunch of different ways that I was trying to throw it, just finding a grip that I was comfortable and confident in, and just playing around and catch with it, finding different ways to hold it. And eventually we ended up finding one that I felt comfortable in. I could throw it somewhat consistently for a strike. And I think the biggest step that we took with the changeup was just throwing it as hard as I could, throwing it with conviction, throwing it to a spot. And that's when I saw the most growth in the changeup, was when I was throwing it hard to a spot with just a ton of confidence. And the grip, just letting the grip take care of itself. There's no cookie cutter way to go about it. Everybody's going to find something that works for them. But the changeup that I had found success in just because of the confidence that I had in it, and my ability to throw it with conviction is what I think really made it what it is now.
Absolutely. And I think something that for any pitcher, yes, you want a good, let's say, movement profile. You want good action on the pitch. But when it comes to like the changeup, I would say the biggest thing that really gets hitters in trouble or really sells its pitchers is the arm speed, and like really showing that conviction, like you're throwing a fastball and making that hitter really believe that you're throwing a fastball in that position and then just letting your grip work. And I think that was definitely not something you were able to do from the get-go, is be able to maintain that arm speed, maintain that deception of like it looking like a fastball. And I think that's one thing that you often see with younger pitchers or pitchers is like they try to they slow their arm down or try to manipulate it too much, and do rather than if that sell it with that arm speed, let your grip do its job. And yeah, a one that moves more is great, but the arm speed and selling is just as important, if not more. And so that's something I would say, if you could take something away from this, is arm speed. That's where the deception is really going to come in. So go through the season. First high school season pitching, and I think what we really, and especially, and I credit your dad, like we made sure we were really smart, bringing you up properly. You hadn't pitched that much at all ever, and so we really, we made sure we had a plan. It wasn't just like throw you to the wolves and just kind of whatever. Like, so just talk about transitioning, like getting used to pitching every week, building up that pitch count, how your body was adapting, and you were still playing shortstop.
Yeah. I mean, we really had a good plan going forward, and I think that was really helpful. Kind of knowing the pitch count that I was going to have for the week, and having a good plan in the weight room too to go with the pitching and as well as playing infield. And I think the first couple weeks it was an adjustment for sure. Probably my first 3 outings, I would say. Going in I would throw on Tuesdays, and play shortstop right after, and then play shortstop Friday and Saturday. And I think it was an adjustment for sure, getting to feel learning the workload of playing both sides of the ball. It was something that I hadn't done, and struggled a little bit at first to kind of feel 100% by that next week, but we ended up finding things that worked in the weight room as well as the recovery stuff that I would do day to day. And I think once we kind of figured that out, it was a lot more manageable with playing both sides of the ball, being 100% on that Tuesday and then being 100% on that Friday, as well as playing infield after I came out with pitching. And so I think that was the kind of the behind the scenes stuff that we did and the plans that we had going forward at the beginning of the year was what was really helpful.
Sure. And I think what you did a good job of is, and I think this is key for anyone, and there's a lot more that we can go into in a little bit, but I think like you stayed consistent with your work. I think a lot of times you do all this work in the off season, then the season hits, and at first your body's kind of trying to adapt, and so you kind of shut the other stuff down, but you made sure to continue your lifts every week. Your lifts were consistent, your movement stuff was consistent, so your body was just constantly you were maintaining your strength. You were able to maintain the stuff that you needed to maintain, and so later in the season your body wasn't breaking down. Sure, you were getting tired. That's just coming with that's just natural with the season, but by the work you were putting in each week allowed your body to stay where it needed to be come the end of the season. So in that in-season training is so important. It just allows you to continue as you get late in the season. But let's overall, sure, now you're pitching, but now also, started off, there's 15 scouts, but by the end there's probably up to 40 scouts at a couple of the last few starts. What was that like? How did you manage, with all those eyes on you every week, and not only those eyes being there, but the constant calls and just having to communicate with the scouts every week? Just what was that like, and how did you feel you had to manage it?
The first week it was definitely a little surprising. I thought there may be a couple guys there, maybe 1 or 2, but to see 15 show up to the first start, I was definitely a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. But you see them for sure. You acknowledge them at first, during when you first get to the field, warming up and getting loose and all that. But once you get between the lines and you get on the mound, everything else tunes out. It's just you versus the hitter, finding ways to compete, finding ways to win, and finding ways to help your team win. And I think once the game started, I didn't notice anybody. It was all just competing, which I think really helped. There'd be times where I'd be in the dugout in between innings, and I'd look out there and I'd see them all. And that's kind of when I'd start to wander a little bit. But really, like, focusing in on helping the team win was very helpful. In the middle of the weeks, kind of communicating with the scouts, like, I just try to enjoy the process as much as I can. There's not a lot of people that say they got to go through the process, which was really, I'm really fortunate that I was able to do that. I had a great support group kind of helping me through it all with you, my agent, and my dad. And so I just really try to enjoy the process as much as I could. There were times where it'd be stressful. The interviews that you have with all the teams, that can get a little stressful, but kind of once it's time to go and time to compete, you kind of tune everything else out. And I think that's what really helped me.
Sure. And I think for you guys, like, out there, like, as much as they were going to watch Kaleb play, they also came and watched him train in the gym. They also were checking on everything else he was doing. Like, and I've said this before on the podcast, like, they weren't just solely worried about him as a player. Like, what was he like off the field? How did he handle his business? So, if for anyone, like, that's one thing I would always emphasize, like, all that stuff matters. Everything you do matters, and take pride in it all, and rather than just the pitching itself, because they will come and find you with that stuff, and they want to know what that's like, because they want to know what to expect, especially for Kaleb and pro ball. He's out there on his own. He doesn't have someone watching. They want to know how he's going to go about his business, and so it's not just there's no coach. Like, in college, you still have someone kind of checking in upon you. Like, here, there isn't that someone holding your hand. So they want to know how you're going to handle that time. All right, now season's over. Kind of do some. Well, we were supposed to go to the combine. That didn't happen. Got sick, and then you went and played summer ball for a little bit. But let's go. Okay, July comes. Draft is here. What was the journey and what was going through your head? And then if you want to talk about a little bit about day one, if you want, and then also the next day.
Yeah, so day one was a little bit of a roller coaster. We had kind of thought that I was going to go on day one, thought it was going to work out like that. Ended up not hearing my name called on day one. Definitely a little disappointed, but kind of thought I was going to end up going to school with how the draft was going to work out. And waking up really early on day two, just in case, and waking up to a call with my agent saying that we had made a deal with the Cubs, and getting ready for those first 10 picks in the fourth round. Just a lot of excitement rushing through my body. It was unreal. It was an unreal experience getting to hear your name called on the TV. It's something I had dreamed about since I was so young, and getting to do it with my family and everybody kind of around was really awesome. It was an unbelievable experience. Everybody there, it was honestly it was a really cool day and something I will never forget.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I was lucky enough to be there. It was cool to see, just for you and your family go through it, and how awesome it was for you guys. So yeah. All right. Now, okay, you officially signed What's you've been at the complex since middle of June or July. I've been in Arizona the whole time. What's your daily life look like? What's it been? What's it like at the complex every day?
It's really cool, you know. I have guys rehabbing from the big leagues, which has kind of been cool. Working out with them, getting to hear their stories of professional baseball through their eyes, which has been really cool. But I think it's honestly pretty similar to the stuff I did here. You wake up, get to the facility, and then you're in the training room getting ready to throw. You throw, and then you lift, and then you're pretty much done for the day. Hang out there a little bit, and then go back and entertain yourself. And I think it's similar to the stuff we do here, and the stuff that I was exposed to here, which was good. I felt like I had a head start compared to the other guys in our draft class, just in terms of stuff that I was used to, with whether it be the lifts or the stuff that I do in the training room. It was really similar. And so I feel like I had a somewhat of a head start compared to the other guys in my draft class that hadn't really been exposed to that.
Something you hear about pro ball a lot, especially when you're at the complex, is like there is a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
And figuring out how do some guys struggle with all that downtime. What are some of the things you kind of done or are typically do to help with all that extra time?
Yeah, I mean, finding ways to entertain myself. I got a guitar. I've been trying to learn the guitar, playing some golf, which has been a lot of fun. I have a lot of teammates who are big into golf, so we play golf pretty consistently. Fish every once in a while, like stuff like that. Just surrounding myself with some of my teammates. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We're all in Arizona, finding ways to entertain ourselves. So we find ways to stay busy.
Sure. No, that's good. I mean, I think there's only so much you can do. I mean, you're 6 hours. Even like you're at the facility or the complex for 6-7 hours a day. There's still a ton more hours to figure out what to do. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that is one of the biggest struggles you hear of guys is not knowing what to do with that downtime and making sure you're using that time appropriately and just doing what you need to do. So, having those hobbies is really important. So that's good. Now, as you kind of go into that next step, what's the next thing what are some of your goals over the next 6 months?
I think my biggest goals would be to keep getting stronger in the weight room throughout these next 6 months. I think that's number one, getting stronger, but also staying athletic is probably goal number one. I want to get stronger, but I also want to keep the athleticism and even get more athletic, and I think that's probably the biggest goal. The second biggest goal I would say would be on the pitching side would be to find more consistency in my pitch shapes and my delivery. I think that's something that I still have a long way to go on. I think I made strides throughout this spring season, but I think there's still a lot of room to grow, and I think that's probably my second goal. And then my third goal is just raise the velocity floor. I think there's always more room for growth there, and I think flashing a number can be cool, but I want to be able to raise the floor of the velocity.
Sure. Just that floor just gives you more pitchability and
exactly.
Yeah, you're able to be more consistent, and so I think that is something another thing I think some guys get so caught up in that top number, but when you bring that floor up, just gives you more pitchability, your stuff gets better, and it allows you to just pitch for a longer period of time, especially as a starter. It's going to allow you to go deeper. Instead of just focus on just that top end where you only hit it once here and there. It's like, how easy can I work at this bottom number? And if I bring that bottom up, it's going to make it easier for you to last longer. If the floor velo goes up and your pitches get better. So I think harder breaking balls, harder even a harder changeup. Like it's all gonna help your stuff. So, um, what like now all this like what are some of your reflections? What are some of the things that if you think looking back on? I mean, obviously you're still young. You still have a long time in this game, but some of like your reflections on your training and your just like your growth over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of growth, both physically and mentally. I think a lot of times you can get wrapped up in the physical piece, but I think mentally has been a large part of my development too. Learning how to deal with the failure that baseball brings, learning to deal with the ups and downs that baseball brings. Like there's a lot to be said about working on that. And I think that kind of gets swept under the rug, especially from the younger guys. Like you go through failure. The best players in baseball, 3 for 10. Like that's a Hall of Famer. And I think that really gets undervalued. Learning how to deal with the failure, and I think that's what is I've grown the most as in these last 5 years. And obviously physically too, getting bigger and stronger has been a priority these last 6 years. And I think that has also helped tremendously, getting to compete against guys who are a lot bigger than me at a young age. Learning to compete with those guys, I would need to put on mass and size, and that only helps for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and actually now you talking about the mental side and handling that stuff. I know this last year that was a big piece of your weekly routine is working with Ray Santiago, who we've had on the podcast actually just recently. And so, yeah, I mean, I think if you want to go into that a little bit and some of the work that you did with him.
Yeah. I started working with Ray in October of last year, so about a year ago now. And it was just to kind of deal with the pitching side. There was a lot to learn on the pitching side from like a playing perspective, but mentally there's a lot to unfold with the pitching side. And Ray and I would have a routine week to week, which would be a bunch of visualization, visualizing success, and that was huge for me. Going into the week knowing, like, already having succeeded, just because of the visualization we would do, and that was a tremendous piece in my season.
No, absolutely, yeah, and I think that's one thing I think that was huge for you. Well, not just that, but just the routine that you had each week. And being a starter, it makes it a little bit easier, and having a little softer senior schedule, is a nice way to say it, is we had a lot of things that you were able to do each week, from your training, your mental skill stuff, your bullpen schedule, your recovery stuff, everything was planned out. We knew every week. And I think what a lot of people don't understand, like, and I would tell scouts this every time or all the time when they would ask me questions, that I think, like, it doesn't matter how late the game ended. Tuesday night after the game, you were in the gym training. Friday night after the game, you were in the gym training. And those could have been real easy opportunities for you to go do something else or go out with your friends, and you didn't miss any of those steps. And even early on like when we had stuff on Sundays, we backed off of that, kind of reduced some of the stuff because you were playing every day, and so we wanted to reduce some of your workload. But you were in there Sundays when you needed to be. Like, did it matter? You made sure everything that we had scheduled, like, you made it happen, you made it work, and didn't matter how late, whatever it was, you made sure to go go do what you need to do, and that's definitely a big piece. And not the work you did with us, just you knowing what you needed to do, and how important everything was to you. Like, that's what I think, that's where a lot of the jump that you made in such a short period of time came from. Like, you were willing to make those sacrifices that a lot of guys just aren't willing to make. And so it's a credit to you. It's a credit to the discipline that you have, and those are the things that are going to help you continue to grow in this game. So, yeah, that's great. But great job by you, and don't lose those characteristics.
Yeah.
As we get here to the end, we always do a rapid fire section, and so we're gonna start with our rapid fire here, but could be one word answers, or it could be a little bit longer, but we'll get started.
Okay.
Favorite big league pitcher to watch right now?
Let's go Cade Horton.
Okay. Go-to pregame meal or snack?
Chicken and rice. Ground beef and rice. And avocado.
Favorite lift favorite lift in the gym?
Single leg. Just a split squat.
Most memorable moment since joining the Cubs?
Day we signed our paper.
One piece of advice you give to a 12-year-old starting at RT?
Enjoy the process. Find joy in the little things and stay consistent.
Great. Well, those are all good things. A lot of good stuff in this episode, I think, especially for you guys out there, especially you athletes out there, that you can take away. Kaleb, the things that he did through his journey, the discipline that he had, and his just consistent approach to development is just something that anybody can take away. Kaleb, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I'm very happy for you, very excited to see you continue to grow. It's been an awesome journey so far, and looking forward to the many more years. I think you definitely have are in contention to be the longest tenured athlete at RT. So right now I think we're going on 7, but you're still young, so you still got a lot of time, and so excited just to continue to see you grow and continue to get better.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was a blast.
Awesome. Well, for us, you can find us at rossistraining.com, and on Instagram, it's Rossi's Training. Till next time, thanks for listening.